non-traditional type thing. Okay, here. So there's two things. One sec. I just wanted to check. Just bring out that verse which has indispensable cause. One sec. Just read. Just bring it out again. Actually, it's the same one that I've done, no?
51.
Okay, the first two lines in the text, one has fire and etc. mixed into it, but just by itself, you know what it is, right?
Mind is always calling.
No, just by itself. Without any of the brackets, how would it read?
Is always correlated to
Huh?
the presence of which aids. Therefore, it is cause, thus it is referred to as the seventh, and is produced.
15.
What are you reading, Andres?
The 51 without the brackets.
Is it 44?
Hmm?
But this is the unique
It's
cause
the
of the
90,
indispensable
51 is
instance.
the definition.
Indispensable.
Without the brackets, right?
But 52 is continuation, which is with the fire, I think. So it's the next verse. Fire the picture.
No, I just want the verse which says, it always follows that.
There is, we haven't seen one like that.
That's what I'm trying to do. I don't want you to, because that's with the commentary mixed into it. The one with the pot, like fire sometimes sort of, no, like the seventh, the one which says seventh.
That was the one he
Yeah,
said.
that was the one that
Do you just read again?
is always correlated to the presence of which aids. Therefore, it is cause, thus it is referred to as the seventh, and is produced.
Okay. Kelsey, can you do us a favor? Can you send that text you sent me on the group, please? No. The first one. Remember the one which was the first chapter, but it was actually the second chapter? That one. Where you go? Wait, you sent that to me, no? Oh no, you showed that to me.
Yeah.
Can you send that? You have it on your phone?
It's coming.
Oh, okay. You put it on the group?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 50% there.
Yeah.
It's the one who's called Pramana chapter 1 without commentary.
Is it there? There it is.
Okay.
This is a very scholarly translation of the second chapter. So go to our verse, which is what verse did you say it was? 51.
51.
Where is it? Do you know how to navigate this?
46 is on page 54.
46 is on?
So this should be page 59. No, page 58. No, page 57. It's one. That says it also it says verse 51 at least, but
The first one is looking for the left.
yeah, but it says verse 51 at the bottom of page 57.
No, the Buddhist saint of an Arhatsi. So the verses are all the ones which have the line on the left. Here it's on page 66. If the existence of X is assistant to the Y in sense of being invariably bound to Y, then X is the cause of Y. It is expressed by the locative, yeah, and hence also from the origin of.
Also, the bracket one is the one that says the verse.
Got it? Do you see how the translation is a lot more just, it's not tied to anything?
Could you just read it once more?
Do you have it?
No, I did not yet. I didn't bring my phone.
Don't write it down, no? It's there already.
It's okay. It's just brief. Existence of it.
You just see it, I think it's easier.
This seems to be. point back to the thing that it always has to produce.
Huh?
This seems to point back to the thing that it always has to produce.
Yeah, so let's just look at it 1 second, huh? I think do it in a very, like, that rice seedling sutra. What is the life? How does it open? What is the translation of the rice seedling sutra in English? How is it? Because this exists, that exists. How do we translate it? Di yopena, di chung, di kie pichena, di kie. It's there in Gishima's thing, no? Can you just see Gishima's thing? I think that's better. Just pull out Gishima's thing, that'll be easier. Just pull out Gishima's thing. This last two lines. The seventh, the locative case in grammar, it can be used to say where it comes from, or it can be used as a reason. Yeah? That's what it says over here, no?
It's different from Vishnu.
Can you just read Geshima's thing? What does Geshima say? Let's just get that out of the way, because this thing is getting a little frustrating and we're still doing it forever.
Yeah. That is since the reason for butter lamp always come after.
It's in the commentary.
Maybe,
What page is it?
230.
230.
In the following book,
Yeah, so see how, okay, wait. What does the root verse say? The last two lines. Degyu dechit dumbadang kechi sheni sheba. So here, Gyaltsab Rinpoche is saying, so there's a little bit of a, I don't know how much Gyaltsab Rinpoche is here. I think he's right. There's two grammatical cases which are trying to be explained here. One is the seventh and one is the fifth. Okay? The seventh is the reason one, right? Does that make sense? The reason one. Reason one means the reason that is its existence. So, in the Rice Seedling Sutra, let's do some technical stuff. 84,000 Rice Seedling Sutra, does anyone have it? Can you just pass it out? Because sometimes a little bit of this kind of study also might not be bad. Huh? What do we say?
it should probably be
In Geshe-Ma's page 231.
231 in the
What does it say? Just read it.
It says, therefore, there is a reason why Sutra sets forth the seventh case of a reason. If this exists, that exists, and the fifth, a later case, a term indicating a source when it says, because this was generated, that is generated.
Yeah, that one, right?
It says somewhat in order to understand that is what is needed to be a special, indispensable cause.
Yeah, okay. The sutra, what's the name of the sutra? Sutra on dependent arising, is that what it's called?
Rasikin Sutra.
Where is it?
Page 231 at the bottom.
No, I know, I'm looking for the sutra. I want to see what the sutra says. Here. Here. The phrase dependent arising means that something arises because something else already exists. Something is born because something else was already born. These are the two lines that are being explained by Dharmakirti here. So Dharmakirti is using this sutra from the Buddha to explain what he is explaining as indispensable cause. Yeah?
Will you say it again?
So, yeah, I'll send you a screenshot. Here. Yeah, here. Just see what it says. It says, the Buddha says, no, whoever sees dependent arising sees the Dharma, whoever sees the Dharma sees the Buddha. Then, well, the phrase dependent arising means that something arises because something else already exists. Yeah? Yeah? Is that okay? This is the seventh, where it says in our line the seventh, which is a reason. Yeah? Seventh reason is, this exists because that exists. Is that okay? And then, something is born because something else was already born. This is the fifth that Gyaltsab Rinpoche says, fifth. Yeah? This is indispensable cause. Is that okay? So that's all you have to try and make sense of when you think of indispensable. Just try and, like, I don't know, like maybe let's try and not get overly like debate analytical, but just try and make sense of this. If something exists because something else exists, and something is born because that thing was born, then it is an indispensable cause.
So,
Yeah?
if that is there, meaning the effect is there, then the cause.
This exists because that exists. This is the effect. This effect exists because that cause existed. And this is born because that was born.
This exists, that arises.
Yeah, so if you look at the sutra, sorry, you're right. Something arises because something else already exists. Something is born because something else was already born. Yeah? Actually, it's intriguing how they've translated it like this here, because the Tibetan is different. Di open a dijung, di kepeche na di ke. Yeah, very true. They have a footnote. Let's see what the footnote says. This entire sentence is missing from the available Sanskrit materials and the Chinese translation. So this is a translation from the Tibetan. Tibetan doesn't seem to translate it like this. Yeah, so it should be if this exists, that exists. If this is born, that is born.
So, but
Do you get this? One sec. Do you get the then just read the thing. It carries on. If ignorance, then formations. If formations, then consciousness. If conscious, these are the 12 links, right? So that's what it's saying. If you have this first one, those other ones will necessarily come. That's what indispensable causes are. Yeah? So that entire sutra, according to Dharmakirti's understanding, because he's saying our understanding of indispensable causes is coming from this sutra. This sutra is explaining the 12 links. It's the rice seedling, but the rice analogy is used to explain the 12 links. The 12 links is saying, if this exists, that will exist. If this arises, that is going to arise. For example, if there is ignorance, that will come. The formations will come. If there's formations, consciousness will come. If consciousness is there, name and form will come. Blah, 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 all the way down to the last one, right? If that is the meaning of, so that's the meaning of this, indispensable cause. What is not an indispensable cause? What does the translation say? I'm just reading the Tibetan right now because I get a little confused always reading the translation. So, Kashi sena singular pendo chepa yin lates. Can you read it to me? Just read it out to me. Let me try and see if it works. Pumsolani mesoshin detsam ki ni dokba min. The next verse, immediately next, the following verse.
on some occasions, without brackets, right?
Without the brackets.
On some occasions, does help the continuum of the mind, like a fire to a picture, that does not revert just on that basis.
That's right. Okay? So, again is written picture, you can say pot, doesn't really matter. Okay? Sometimes, on some occasions, it can benefit the mind, but just because of that, it doesn't mean that it is the mind's revert means indispensable cause. Yeah?
Does not revert means it is?
Revert means it doesn't cease to exist. Right?
Does not cease.
Also, etymologically, what we're translating as indispensable cause, today can we do some of this nerdy stuff? Do you mind? This is fun. Dokchi Gikyu. One sec. I also think a little bit of etymology will help sometimes. I haven't even translated it. So here, what is being translated as indispensable cause? Dog means to revert or reverse. Dogpa is isolate, right? You know how the definition of isolate we have said is that which isolates, and then we were saying reverse sometimes, right? So here, dog means to like isolate, or to revert, or to remove, or to do away with, right? So what we're calling as translating as indispensable cause is actually a cause that makes the effect not exist. Dokji ki gyu is the kind of cause, etymologically it's called indispensable because if that was not there, that would not exist. So in the terminology already the idea is clear that if this is there, then that is going to be there. If this arises, that is going to arise. That's why it's called indispensable or reversing cause. I guess you could try and translate it as, I don't know if it's a nice, it's a horrible translation. Counteracting cause, yeah, let's call it a counteracting cause.
So related and indispensable.
So now, what is it? Yeah, yeah, perfect, counteracting cause. Oh, you'll become a good translator then. See, you can check the translations later. Counteracting cause is probably better than indispensable cause. Because in the definition of, that is actually intriguing. In the definition of related, we have de doktop ki kyo dokpa. Mindwe. Doktop dwa. Doktop, dok. It's the same dog. Is it? No. Wait. Let me nerd out with you for 5 minutes, sorry. I just want to make sure that we're good on this and then we can go ahead. Andres, you have the definition. Is it this dog or is it the other dog?
I thought the doctor and the dopa, the isolate, I think it's the same spelling.
Are you,
Yeah.
yeah? Or is it bhav ladata dana dog?
Yeah,
Is it that one?
I think so.
Wait. Here, 13. Here. God, see how bad my Tibetan is. I never pay attention to these things. Doesn't mean anything. I might also have a PhD someday. Who knows? I'm like, these are things that I unfortunately have not been very good at paying attention to. Delva.
Dictionary does mention dog.
What is the how is it spelled? That's the one in Doktop ki Dokpa. No, that's the one I'm looking for. Yeah, I think it is that. It's the same word. In the definition of related, yeah, it's the same word. By the power of counteracting it, it is counteracted. So actually, it would be more accurate for you to translate it as counteracting cause. What we're translating as indispensable cause. Because this exists, that exists. Because this arises, that arose. That will arise, yeah? It has a very different meaning. Yeah, I know. I don't know why it's been translated as indispensable.
Well, indispensable is also really good.
It is good, but it's not giving you this feeling of it takes away. But you understand when you say counteracting, you're thinking in terms of a negative way. So when you're saying it amounts to the same thing. You can think of it in a positive and a negative way, right? In an affirmation and a negation. But in the affirmation, it's taking away that feeling of the negative. In Tibetan, it's dokje, which means that which counteracts the effect. But then the question that arises is, are there certain causes that do produce effects that are not counteracting causes? That's what you were doing, right? And the text says, in certain instances, it may benefit the continuum of the mind, but just like fire might benefit a pot, but just because of that, it doesn't revert, which means it doesn't get counteracted. That would be the correct translation, right? It doesn't get counteracted to keep it consistent. Okay? Now, the problem that has arisen, which I have noticed, and you were answering this very nicely the other day, okay? What has happened is that in our text, Because we have been taking for granted that effects are related to causes, we get stuck by saying if it is a cause, it has to be a, I'm going to start saying counteracting cause. It has to be a counteracting cause. That's one way to go. Because if this is what you're saying and an effect has to be related to a cause, it has to, by the power of counteracting the cause, the effect is counteracted. You can't say it's not an indispensable cause if you go down that direction. At which point, you can go down the direction that Andres and Hendrik have gone, which is if it is a cause, the effect doesn't have to be related to it. That's what they've done. That's what Andres has been doing. Okay? And that's fine. You can try and go down that. The other one that you hear a lot in the debate courtyard, which I believe Gen was holding, was what Paula was saying the other day, which is fire is a cause of pot, but it is not an indispensable cause, because for the continuing existence of fire, fire doesn't have to always continue to exist. You were saying this the other day. Do you remember saying this? Is this what, when we were saying indispensable causes, you gave this answer when you were sitting there. I think you were with Pritik, I don't remember. Was she with you? Was she with you? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, anyway.
So indispensable, the other one that you hear, but this is not, I don't know how much you can draw this out from the text, but this is what I've heard many times say in the debate courtyard is, it is a cause, yes, it's not an indispensable cause, because for it to be an indispensable cause, it always has to be there to sustain the effect being there. Whereas fire comes in, it makes an impact on a pot, and then fire goes out and the pot can remain. That's why fire is not indispensable in the existence of a pot. That's the other one. I'm not saying one is right, one is not right. But if you have to make sense of these two verses, you have to pick one of the two. Is that okay? Now, once you pick one of the two, then you transfer it onto what is being shown, which is sometimes it benefits the continuum of mind, but just because of that, it is not a basis that counteracts the mind. Okay? Now you use it here. So now you have to say one of two things. It is a cause of the mind, but the mind is not related to it, and you go in Andres' direction, and Andres and Hendrik, because that's where they ended up today. Or you say it is a cause of the mind, by the power of counteracting it, the mind is counteracted, but it is not a counteracting cause or not an indispensable cause, because for the mind to exist, that cause doesn't have to continue to be there. Now it's up to you. So this is the conclusion, so that we can get out of this indispensable. We've been doing it for too long. This morning I felt like I was fed up. Even for you, like how much are you going to keep doing the same thing, right? So pick.
Can you give it once?
I don't know which the right one is. What do you mean?
I want the two options.
You tell them back to me. What are the two options that you have?
One is, for it to be an indispensable cause, it has to be there in every moment preceding the effect to support it.
Yes, that's one alternative.
That is one. And the other is by counteracting the cause, the effect isn't counteracted and it continues, and therefore it isn't an indispensable cause.
So let's go in two ways. One is, if it is a cause, it doesn't have to be an indispensable cause. You're starting from there. In response to this, you're choosing one of two ways. One is their way and one is the other way. Their way is, if it is a cause, it doesn't have to be an indispensable cause. Okay? Because a cause doesn't have to be something that counteracts the effect. So essentially, an effect doesn't have to be related to its cause. That's one direction. Where if it is an effect, it doesn't have to be related to the cause. Got it? The other one is, if it is an effect, it does have to be related to the cause. So by the power of counteracting the cause, the effect is counteracted. But just because the effect is counteracted, it doesn't make it indispensable, because for it to be indispensable, it needs the added quality of having to always be there.
Really, does it always have to be?
That's the other option that I've heard being said. Now both of these are helpful. Both of these are helpful. You need to pick the one that works for you. That's all I'm saying. I've heard Paula say one and she was holding it really nicely the other day. I was hoping that you would carry on holding it. At some point you gave it up. But you were holding it very beautifully. And you were using it with the example of this pot and fire. Okay? One sec. Is this clear? Let's get this clear first, these two distinctions. So essentially one way of holding it is, if it is an effect, it has to be related to the cause. And the other one is, if it is an effect, it doesn't have to be related to the cause. The effect doesn't have to be related to the cause, therefore distinguishes between indispensable causes and not based on what? It is indispensable if by counteracting the cause, the effect is counteracted. Yeah? The other one is, it is not sufficient for it to be able to counteract the effect, for it to be indispensable. It needs to always be there.
But could there be a third option?
What?
So, example, you have projecting karma, which is the indispensable cause of this life.
Okay?
But it doesn't have to be there. It's over when the life happens. It's not there in every moment.
So then why is it indispensable?
Because this particular life that, say, I have, would not have happened if that projecting karma was not there. If that had been
But then that's
counteracted, I would have had this.
But then you're saying the same thing, na? Indispensable causes, by the power of counteracting the cause, the effect is counteracted. You've fallen within that category again.
Right.
So there's no third, you haven't given a third option in this one.
Because you said that the two options are, the effect is not related to the cause.
But in your case, the effect is related to the cause.
Exactly.
So then
and
it's,
you said the second option is in every
oh,
moment
okay,
receiving
the effect is
of
related to the
cause.
cause. Okay, so there's effect being related to the cause. It doesn't always have to be there. So why is this indispensable?
Yes. Because this effect would not exist.
So
without
if it is related to that cause, if it is a cause to which the effect is related, it follows it is an indispensable cause?
Agreed.
Yeah?
So there are three options.
But then, isn't that what they're also saying? If it
You're
is an
saying-
effect,
you're saying that they're
one sec,
saying-
are they, if it is an effect that is related to the cause, it follows that cause is indispensable?
Yeah.
But you said they said that the
No, they're saying all causes don't have to be
so
related.
all causes are not
So
indispensable.
they're saying if it is a cause to which the effect is related, it has to be an indispensable cause,
Right.
which is what you're also saying,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
You're saying projecting karma is indispensable because the effect is counteracted if the cause is counteracted. That's what they're saying.
What about the case of the potter and the pot?
Okay, is the potter indispensable for the pot?
Yes.
It is the potter is indispensable for the cause. By the power of counteracting the pot is counteracted.
Agreed.
Again, you fall into that same one, no?
But it's considered, but I thought an indispensable cause would have to be substantial cause and then a
No,
pot
that
is
it's not. Because in the text it's saying there are cooperative, in the section where it's refuting the body as an indispensable cause, it's refuting it as an indispensable cooperative condition. So that's still open to discussion. Is that okay? So you pick, I mean there might be a third one, I'm not saying no. So far, all your discussions are narrowed into two. Now do it with consciousness, please. That's the more important one. So leave all your, maybe for today, just for tonight at least, and tomorrow morning, leave all the seeds and sprouts and bread and salt and just drop it. If something is clear and knowing, is it counteracted if matter is counteracted? That's your first one. And now use examples of clear and knowings. For instance, an eye consciousness perceiving pot. It is clear and knowing. It follows an eye consciousness perceiving pot is counteracted if pot is counteracted. That's one way. Okay? Then, eye consciousness is, or consciousness is counteracted when matter is counteracted. But that is not sufficient for that matter to be an indispensable cause, because for that matter to be an indispensable cause, it needs to always remain with it. And there it makes sense, because if that were the case, then you can try and do a dead body would always have to give rise to consciousness, right? Even though that was for substantial causes, you can think of it differently. Or all the elements will lead to things, so to sentient beings, not in terms of substantial causes, but as indispensable causes. So pick whichever one you want. I think if you pick these two and you try and follow one line of reasoning and another, you get a little bit more clarity. So with clear and knowing is something that has the ability to take on an aspect. For something that has the ability to take on an aspect, to exist, is matter fundamental? Yes or no? What do you think? If it is consciousness, it follows matter is not an indispensable cause? Agree? If it is consciousness, it follows matter is not a cause, except,
It is consciousness, why?
for example,
The eye consciousness is seeing pot.
take eye consciousness seeing pot, it follows matter is a cause. Take eye consciousness seeing pot, it follows matter is a... Okay, it follows that the eye consciousness seeing pot has matter as a cause. It follows it is related to matter. Okay? If it is if it is matter that is related to a cause, it follows that cause is an indispensable cause of that consciousness. Sorry, if it is consciousness that is related to matter, it follows that matter has to be an indispensable cause of that consciousness. Agree? So, got it? Because now this is your position. That's why this was your position. Because it is a cause which can counteract the consciousness.
You mean like an eye consciousness?
The way they've said it. They said an eye conscious perceiving pot is related to pot in the way where by the power of counteracting pot, the eye conscious counteracting pot is counteracted.
That makes sense.
It does make sense, but then for them, that is the meaning of indispensable cause. So then they have to say that a pot is an indispensable cause of eye consciousness perceiving pot. Okay? And then that has its own implications.
But you don't agree with that?
How does it matter what I
Can
agree?
you explain what does that word counteracting here mean?
Counteracting here, but we've done that. So what is in the relation? Why are we adding counter?
That
Yeah.
is the same
Why
meaning.
does Panchen Rinpoche add counteracting to the definition of relation over? You did this today. You did the definition of if this doesn't exist, that doesn't exist, and I told you the other definition has counteracting,
Yes.
and then I told you please don't care about the meaning.
Yes.
They can care about the meaning.
Got it.
You get why they can care about the meaning? Because this is all just hanging around, it's hinged around that. This entire discussion hinges on that slight addition of counteracting. Got it? That's why Panchen Rinpoche says, that's not why. That could be one of the reasons why he says, hey, this doesn't exist, that doesn't exist, not good enough. Counteracting is really important. Now, you are a little bit, I don't know what the direction you both are going to end up taking. You can still be safe, okay? But figure it out. That's my only suggestion. So do this and end this chapter on indispensable causes. Okay? After we've ended this chapter on indispensable causes, we can little bit go through the text and we can look at your doubts. I have that one favorite thing that I really want to do, which was that disintegration and arising thing. I don't know if you want to do that. Or you come up with a suggestion.
No, we want to
Yeah, that one is really fun because also today I found in Gyaltsab Rinpoche's commentary something nice. We can do that. Or we can do that first chapter one, which is Hendrik's pet peeve. You decide. The disintegrating one? Okay. So do this indispensable thing. Do it with consciousness. You have one session tonight. You have one debate session tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's Friday. Then we can do something else in the afternoon. Okay. And now bring in all the material that we've done. So don't make me give you reread the verses with you. I don't think that makes any sense. Okay. Riassumere. Come si dice in inglese riassumere?
Scusa?
Riassumere.
Summarize.
Grazie. To summarize, there's two kinds of, okay, right now we've heard that in the debate courtyards they say two things. One, they say if it is a cause, it follows it is an indispensable cause. They do say this. In fact, I held this position for the longest time. I'm not sure what to say anymore. But this is one thing that they say. The other thing that they say is if it is a cause, it doesn't follow it is an indispensable cause. They have come up with, if it is a cause, the effect doesn't have to be related to it. You can go down that path. Or you can say, if it is a cause, it doesn't follow it is an indispensable cause. If it is an effect, it has to be related to the cause, but what makes it indispensable or contradictory or not is whether it always has to be there. That's what we have. If you can come up with a third, if you're using matter as examples, use it, but now start bringing it into mind. And when you're bringing it into mind, don't be vague, be something that has ability to take on an aspect and know, clear and knowing. That's what consciousness is defined as. Whether you're saying matter, consciousness is a co-emergent property of the brain, or you're saying it is not a co-emergent property of the brain, the common discussion ground is that it is clear and knowing. Everyone agrees that it is clear and knowing. Okay? Now you're trying to say something that is clear and knowing. For it to be clear and knowing, does it need matter or not? That's what you're checking. Okay? There's one thing here that the last thing I wanted to share, and then I'll stop. Shmul, I saw your hand. Here it says, listen to this, huh? Just as the last thing. Over here, I don't know how much you'll agree with this. This is interesting though. It says, if you say matter is not an indispensable cause of I consciousness, and you say the sense powers are not an indispensable cause of I consciousness, what about this? And it says when your I sense power degenerates, your mental consciousness experiences that and is unhappy or is saddened by that. So like, someone goes blind. If you go blind, there's a problem with the eye sense power. Then you can be really sad that you've gone blind. People who are going gradually blind, it's a very common condition, right? So there's fear that is generated. In this situation, how can you say that the mental consciousness, that has the saddened mental consciousness, is not contradicted by that mental sense power degenerating, eye sense power degenerating? That's the debate that has been brought up. And the answer here is, there is no problem, because even though this change is observed, it is not by the power of the degeneration. So by the power of comes in again. It is not by the power of the degeneration of the eye sense power that the mental consciousness has changed. Listen what it carries on saying, huh? Yeah? The degeneration of the I sense power is a condition that has led to that saddening, yeah? But merely by, listen to how the wording is, but merely by that degeneration, the change doesn't have to be brought about. And then it gives an example which is a little surreal, but let's just read it. Because there are certain noble beings who offer their eyes to others, through which they experience great joy.
Wow, this is interesting.
That's what it says. So in the sutras, in the first ground bodhisattvas, when they give their bodies, like that Buddha giving his body to the tiger, first they say that when you are before the first ground, your body feels pain, your mind doesn't. Apparently when you're on the first ground, your body also is very blissed out when it's being chewed up by a tiger. Doesn't matter. The mind is different. Okay? So here the analogy is, by the degeneration of the I sense power, you do notice a change, but the change is not through the power of the degeneration. It is a condition because merely by that degeneration you don't have to observe the sadness. The sadness can be because the same degeneration can lead to something else. So the sadness is not, the degeneration is not an indispensable cause of that change in the mental sense power. That's what he says. This is just a little bit of additional information. It has a lot of the same terminology: power, condition, merely, and so merely and all seem to be necessary sense or indispensable causes. Because this exists, that exists, merely the existence of this leads to the existence of that. This is what. So then, now wrap it up. Yeah. By tomorrow afternoon, wrap it up. No, this doesn't exist in
There's no
English.
English translation. Oh,
So we're debating, we're keeping the debate on indispensable cause.
But you're switching now to consciousness. Now you're moving to
Focus on
consciousness.
What consciousness has
Yes.
as indispensable cause.
Yes.
And also instances of consciousness.
And then for that, like in the text, there was an instance of consciousness. You will bring up all your instances and now you will debate them. And now you will debate either one of these two or you come up with your third. Okay? But then wrap it up with consciousness. Let's move ahead. Yeah? Yeah.
I don't know if that's a topic, but the text says if this arises, that arises.
Yes.
So it means that if a cause arises, then the effect arises.
Yes.
It follows that if a cause arises, then the effect has to arise.
Yeah, of course.
It follows that it follows that if a seed arises, then a tree arises?
Why?
Because if a cause arises, then an effect arises.
No provision. That's no provision. If a cause arises, a cause has to be a functional thing, no? If it's a functional thing, then it has to produce an effect.
Right?
If it has to produce an effect, the effect has to...
Cause is there, its effect is not necessarily there.
Depends where you're saying which effect. So the kind of indispensable causes are the ones that will guarantee that effect. That's what the text seems to be saying. That's what the Buddha says. I mean, that's kind of what we're trying to make sense of. And then he goes on to the 12 links. But the 12 links are important because if ignorance is there, the point is if ignorance is there, why are you going to keep getting stuck in samsara? Because if ignorance is there, you're going to keep doing dumb stuff because of ignorance. That's called formation.
Yeah, it seems that the way I perceive also is like, if I see the effect, then I'm sure that that is the cause.
Yeah. And if that cause is there, you can be sure that that effect will come. So the only... If it is indispensable. So, again, they're still stuck with the same issue because are all causes indispensable? Do all effects have... You're still in that sphere. But at least, like, it's clear now that there's one of these two. You pick and now move on to consciousness and then close. Yeah? Okay? Okay, enjoy your dinner. Bye.
Please join us. You're joining us.
Am I joining? I have to do some...